I'd like to call this meeting of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock. If you'd please turn off or silence your cell phones as this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Olson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Here.
Colin Clements,
Here.
Benita Daniel,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Sunita Jithendra.
Absent.
Item 3, approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, committee reports. I do not believe there are any reports unless committee members would like to announce when the next meeting is. District Advisory Committee is mine, and I don't know when the next one is. I apologize. B, District English Language Advisory Committee, DLAC, Clements.
The first meeting of this school year is on August 26th at 6:30, and it will be virtual.
Thank you. Education Committee is mine, and once again, I do not know when the next meeting is. I apologize. Facilities Committee, Trustee Clements.
The first Facilities Committee of the school year is on September 23rd. It will be here in the boardroom, and I believe it is, unless it changes between now and then, it'll be live.
Correct.
Thank you. E, Policy Committee, Trustee Clements.
The next batch of policies is scheduled to come to the board on August 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety Committee is mine, and this one I know when it is because it's written right here in the agenda. The next meeting is September 15th at 3:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. And the Wellness Committee is also mine, and I do not know when the next meeting is scheduled for. Governing Board reports. Trustee Clements.
Is that Trustee Clements? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to attending the groundbreaking for the Red Rose Montessori School on Friday morning, and I'm also looking forward to attending the Mountain House CSD Board meeting on August 11th to share the latest happenings in our district. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
On July 30th, I attended the Mustang Square groundbreaking ceremony with Trustees Boulay and Daniel. Very excited for the future jobs this will bring to our community and the options of off-campus lunch for our students. And I will be attending the Red Rose Montessori groundbreaking tomorrow as well. Last night, I attended the National Night Out at Central Park, and it was really great to see everyone there who supports and protects our community. And finally, I attended freshman orientation at Mountain House High School this morning, and what amazing participation we had from our freshmen. I was very impressed with Mr. Feinstein and Mr. Lloyd and the 125 seniors and juniors who were there as part of the LINK crew, serving as mentors and helpers to the new freshman class. They formed a long line, kind of like a tunnel for sports, but they didn't touch hands this time, and they cheered as the freshmen entered. And they cheered for a long time because the freshman was almost 600 in the class, and almost all of them came. They had a very great attendance, and I had tears in my eyes when I saw that because it was just great to see our students back doing things. And I'm just really impressed with our students and how they care for one another and the environment that the high school breeds to empower them to do that. Principal Fulbert and I were standing there looking at the bleachers and realized they take up half of the gym. one whole side of the gym. But I was very impressed. And as we get ready to embark on the 21-22 school year, I would just like to wish Dr. Nicholas, the whole district office, and staff, our students, teachers, and parents a very safe and successful start to this school year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Belay.
Last week, I completed the first Masters in Governance class, Foundations of Effective Governments and Setting Direction. It was a great class. I really enjoyed it. It was a virtual class, but it was interactive with lots of breakout sessions, so I had the opportunity to meet superintendents and board members from other districts and share and listen to some of their successes and their failures. And it really sounds like our district is on a great path. And I'm looking forward to the next class, which I will be taking in August. Last Friday, I also attended the Mountain House Mustang Square Shopping Center. And again, so excited to see retail and services come to Mountain House and opportunities for our students to take a break from school during their lunch period for the juniors and seniors and have some place to go for lunch. This week I'm working with the Mountain House High School speech and debate team. Their competition year starts early. They have a competition at the end of the month, and so I'm helping with a camp this week, and what a huge interest from the students. There is probably 100 kids that are attending camp, and I think they're excited to be doing something in person. I think that the interest that I'm seeing is just kids thirsty to participate and to be involved in person. And so I'm really excited, and I think they'll have a successful year. And then Monday, I attended the high school girls tennis tryouts. I was just watching, I wasn't trying out. But again, just really excited to see the volume of students that are interested in participating, and I'm excited to see the spirit come back after a year of doing everything virtual. I think that I think we did a great job, but there's something missing when you can't be in person and you can't experience that bonding. So again, I'm looking forward to a great year. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Daniel.
Yeah. So on July 30th, as Trustee Belay and Trustee Olson mentioned, I attended the groundbreaking of the Mountain House Square Center, and it was awesome to see a lot of people very happy about the commercial space and the retail coming up. I had a lot of fun with my fellow board members, something that I will cherish. And also just to see a lot of opportunities for our kids and actually a safe hangout place for our high school kids and all the kids and families. So it felt great. On August 3rd, that was yesterday, I attended the Mountain House National Night Out. Again, it was a lot of fun, a lot of youth, students were volunteering. It felt like we were back, the community was having a lot of fun together, and it was perfect weather yesterday. So that was a great event yesterday. At both the events, it was nice to see our Mountain House Matters local newspaper, Brian Harrison there. He's always there to capture the most important events, everything from our community. So it was nice to catch up with him. So thanks to Brian for always being there. On August 1st, I had the honor and privilege to represent our LUSD board at a Bay Area fundraiser event, which was conducted by Bay Area high school students, which was like an Indian music concert. And it was a fundraiser with the Seva International. It was a wonderful event, and I did see a lot of our Mountain House high school students volunteer there. So I was just so happy and proud to see a lot of our youth doing great things. I do have two shout-outs. My first shout-out today goes to our Trustee Belay. I have been hearing a lot of great things about the speech and debate camp that Trustee Belay has been putting together and organizing. My daughter is part of that camp, and she did let me know that there were over 100 students there, and it was so very well organized. So great job. And kudos to you, Lisa, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And my second shout out goes to our superintendent's team and Thor and his team. I did hear from the MHCC cricket team today that the concern that they brought up last meeting was addressed, and they're very happy. So thank you so much for addressing their concern. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I, along with Superintendent Nicholas, gave a tour to board members from the Patterson School District yesterday, and I was very proud of our facilities, and it was gratifying that they would reach out to us, not only to see our facilities and hear about how we've managed the growth in the district, but also how we've maintained educational excellence through all of the growth. So very, very happy to have done that for them yesterday. And that concludes my report. Receiving of public comments. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public may also bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. And I have one card here from Arjun Jaturu.
Okay, thank you, the board, for giving the opportunity to talk and give my. This is regarding one of the emails I sent to the board regarding the by trustee area elections. I brought this one because this was adopted in 2002, the California Voting Rights Act. Based on that, system is rooted for the public input and voting equity. Over 100 school districts across the state have voluntarily changed the election method to by trustee system in order to comply with the CVRA. I urge LUSD to adopt to the by trustee election system, just as hundreds of public agencies and school districts across the state have. In this system, the school districts are subdivided into trustee areas, which allow for a more equal representation in the board that reflects the community's changing demographics and interests. The at-large election system, which currently LUSD is using, is at-large election system. It controls 100% of electoral seats only by a few people. Based on my research about the California Department of Education, from that, I see that number of minority students represent approximately more than 70% of LUSD student enrollees as of 2019. So that's one of the reasons I brought this up, because we have more minority students, but the representation, I don't see that. I request the board to make and adopt a resolution of intent to transition the trustee areas, grant authorization to seek a waiver from the California Board of Education for the requirement that board seek voter approval for the possible change for at-large district elections, and host a public forum to discuss the designation of trustees areas. And I would like to say that what is the implications, right? So if board takes initial actions and the subsequent steps, it will be protected from litigations and able to conduct district elections in November 22. That's all I like to say today. Thank you for your time, and I hope that the board commits to support the rights and interests of minority voters and support the LUSD community via the adoption of the by trustee area electoral system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, consent items for consideration. Governing board meeting minutes of the meeting of July 21st, contracts under $50,000. Appleby Imaging, Inc., contract for personnel file scanning and cloud storage services from 9/23/21 to 9/22/22, not to exceed $8,750. File keepers, contract for special education file scanning and digital storage services from 7/1/21 to 6/30/22, not to exceed $12,000. And Well North Education, agreement for research and data sharing for the 2021-22 school year. Ratification of new hires, ratification of resignations, and updated fundraisers. Are there any items on the consent, any of the consent items that any board member would like to discuss or pull from consent? I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I believe Trustee, yes, I was going to say Trustee Pombo because it's a joke, but Trustee Clements would like to read the new hires now.
We would like to welcome Andrea Brown, school psychologist, Katarine Coffey, self-contained classroom teacher, John Contreras, special education teacher, Heather Copeland, English teacher, Daryl Crookston, health teacher, Elisa De La Cruz, district courier / receiving clerk, Anna De La Rosa. Sorry?
The last one.
Oh, thank you. Anna De La Rosa, speech language pathologist, Gabriela Gomez, high school counselor, Kayla Garrison, self-contained classroom teacher, Sarada Karthik, mental health counselor, Samuel Leatherman, science teacher, Olivia Labelle, health teacher, James Reed, IT program manager, Jocelyn Salas, high school staff secretary, and Martha Tornero Maciel, custodian / security 3. Welcome.
Welcome. Moving on to item 8, administrative reports. Dr. Nicholas, Superintendent's report.
Yeah, I just have a few things I want to cover for this particular part of the agenda. First of all, Trustee Clements often refers to the duck on the water and the feet spinning quickly underneath the water, but it looks calm on the surface. So I want to first say that we're going to hit a big number in student population this year. The rumor is it will exceed 7,000 students. The possibility exists it'll be 100 more than that. And the extreme possibility is it could be higher than that. So I want to explain that when you hit a big number at the beginning of a school year, that's grounds for celebration. But the people who represent the duck's feet on the water, who are sitting out here in the audience, who I'm going to call out individually, so I would like to do that now. Ed Services, represented by Associate Superintendent Thor Harrison. Curriculum instruction, and that's a swell jacket. Curriculum instruction and technology, Assistant Superintendent Sherburne. Assistant Superintendent of Business, Gloria Grijalva. Director of Student Services, Irene Busatil. Human Resources, Ted Miller. Special Education, John Saylor. Let me say this. Dr. Ted Miller, he just finished his doctorate not too long ago. Sped Dr. John Saylor. Noelle Balzerini, who runs my office and lots of other important things like me. Maintenance and Operation, the handsome gentleman back there, James LeGrand. And Food Services, Bernie Hill. The legs and the feet are churning. The water is hardly rippling, But let me tell you, the ducks are moving. And to prepare for a school year where you're projecting a significant, maybe the biggest growth ever over a year to year, that's a big deal. When you add independent study, the creation of a TK-8 program, a pandemic, changing guidelines, and the new curveball is a change in the guidance of the LCAP, which I'll talk to again. All of these folks, with great professionalism, a sense of humor, and determination, have really carried a load that is extraordinary, exceptional, and I'm proud to be able to speak as part of our team. They've really kept it all together and kept us moving forward so people can do what they need to do. So I want to shout that out. Now, second of all, with the children's nursery story about Goldilocks and the Three Bears and the porridge that's just right versus the hot and the cold. Staffing for a big number is an inexact science. If you go with too hot, meaning you hire too many teachers and the kids don't show up, which happens, you just bought teachers for a year without kids to fill the class. That's not good. If the porridge is too cold, meaning you don't hire enough teachers, then you're scrambling the first couple of weeks of school to fill those spots. And that's not great either. So the brain trust out there, while spinning their feet, have to try to thread a needle and get the porridge that's just right, which is, if we have to hire some teachers, it's a small number, and get as many people in the classroom with these numbers growing every day as best as possible on the first day of school, with curriculum, with computers, with some background in PD. It is challenging in a normal year, as abnormal as this is. They've done a tremendous job. We are still looking at hiring some additional staff, but the numbers that have been interviewed and the numbers that have been hired and the paperwork it takes to get somebody from offer to placement, all of that is happening at a fifth gear Mach 5, hair on fire speed. And the one thing I will say is everybody's hiring every available person interested in being in a classroom with a kid. And so we are at the phase where the pool is small. And so we will fill the classrooms up, but there's a possibility there might be some very inexperienced people who come in with good intentions, and we will provide them the Lammersville way and excellent support systems to help them be successful. The next thing I want to say is curveballs come and curveballs go. The whole idea of a curveball is you throw the balance off of the hitter so they don't make good contact. There was a lawsuit in San Bernardino charged by the ACLU, charged against the County Office of Ed for a poor job of oversight on that county's LCAPs. The net result, the curveball, is that all school districts in California, through their County Office of Education approval mechanism, have to make some adjustments to their already approved LCAP. One might say it's bureaucratic. One might say it's reactionary. One might say the timing couldn't be worse. But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying one might say that. What I would say is our team has rallied in spite of all the other things they're doing, and we will be moving forward in the next couple of board meetings those adjustments, which staff was informed of today. Nothing significant, nothing earth-shattering, mostly nomenclature, semantics, and we told you to do it this way, but now we're telling you to do it that way. But I wanted to inform the board of that thing, and there's no error on our part, and frankly, it doesn't sound like there's any error on our County Office of Ed. It's really a reaction of the CDE, California Department of Education, to that lawsuit. I also want to thank the CSD, and in particular General Manager Steve Pinkerton, his team, in particular Anush Najed, and the CSD board. They put a full court press on getting lights operational on Grantline Road at 2 cross streets, which is Tradition and Central. That wasn't intended to be finished at this time. It was planned to be finished more towards December, and they got it done for us and the community and the traffic, but we are a great beneficiary, so thank you to them. And then finally, on my SOUPS report, we presented, all of the principals and the district leadership team got together, and we presented just the general overarching goals for people to stay focused on, kind of the things that people's goal settings are going to be based on. They're based on the district goals. They're based on the conversations that we have with the board and the superintendent about our aspirations. But the three main ones that we talked about to start the school year off and to do what we do here in Lammersville Unified as a top-level job is there were 3 R's: to reestablish, reengage, and reassert. And we want to reestablish our PLCs. That's an excellent collaborative model at each school site and as a district leadership team to make sure we're focused on the right things to help all students learn. To reengage our education community and build our cultures. Each school has the opportunity in this district to have its own personality, but yet everybody is still part of a collective of all of our K-8 schools and our high school, and we all work as one unit. But that requires parental support, staff support, teacher support, us listening up and properly communicating things down. And so those 2 things right there alone, we can't fumble that. It is truly, truly important that we take the time to welcome everybody back, everybody get their reps in, everybody get up to pace, everybody get accustomed to simple things like, how did I do that? I organized my stuff this way, all of that stuff, and we have to celebrate what we did excellently before the pandemic and really re-engage that. And then finally, and the PD's already started, and there will be a significant professional development next week, is to reassert the Lammersville way and focus on instruction, which is a focus on a good first-time instruction. And we presented Assistant Superintendent Sherburne gave a presentation that's going to be more in depth with the teaching corps when they come back on their buyback day, and really a common message from district staff, site administration, and to the teachers. What made us special before the pandemic? What are the things that we're going to engage in? And the focus for the start of the school year is good first-time instruction. So some of the things that are going on in the scene here, I spoke to on the back side of it with is getting ready, but these 3 goals are going to be shared across the district, and we're excited to get the school year started. And Mr. President, that's my report.
Thank you. And during your report, I realized that I had neglected to mention part of my intended board report, and that was that a community member had presented me with an idea that I think is a good idea, and that is to have a welcome to Lammersville tab on our website, potentially something that the builders could print up and hand out to new home buyers, which is just kind of maybe an FAQ with how do I enroll my student in Lammersville, how does this work and that work and the other thing work, just to help new people to Mountain House and Lammersville School District understand the steps they need to take to acclimate themselves to our district. And if
We'll get to work on that.
If the rest of the board feels as I do that it's a good idea, I would like to ask staff to bring something to us or bring something forth. And moving on, item B, District Maintenance and Operations Report. Mr. LeGrand.
Good evening, thanks for having me. I have a brief report tonight, as opposed to my extensive normal report, so it's brief tonight. Summer cleaning is completed all the sites except for one, including the exteriors. Hopefully the other ones not completed will be done by Friday. We're kind of pushing them to get done by Friday. The site custodians are at those sites that are completed are going around touching up little things here and there, and they're helping the teachers get settled in their classrooms for school, which starts a week from tomorrow, as you all know. Last Friday, I stayed late, and we completed both gyms at the high school, refinishing of both gyms. I want to give a kudos to Aria in my office. She stayed late and helped me, so I wasn't there till midnight. I left about 6 or 6:30, so saved me a bunch of time, so thank you to her. This week, maintenance, we are reinstalling a wall that we removed several years ago in the C wing at the high school. Back before the theater was built, we opened up 2 classrooms to make a big space for band and choir. Now with the increased enrollment Dr. Nichols talked about, we need to reseal that up. So we have it framed, we have a layer of sheetrock on, we have to put a second layer on tomorrow, and then we'll paint and get that cleaned up. We have some whiteboards that we're repurposing from Altamont on both sides, and we'll have that shit done by Friday. At the very latest, it'll be Monday. In the warehouse, we have gone through roughly 30 pallets of instructional materials, sorted and delivered them to the sites already. I want to give a shout out to our new warehouse guy, Arturo Perez. We kind of threw him in the deep end of the pool with all this stuff that was already there when he started, and he's gone through it all. We got all of it out. We have some little things here and there to inventory, but we've made tremendous progress in the last couple of weeks, and so kudos to him. This afternoon, we had our first lead custodian meeting of the year. We had it at Hanson Elementary in the multipurpose room. We talked about PPE and cleaning and work areas and all that kind of stuff. Stuff that I didn't think we were going to be talking about to start this year, but here we are back again. So we're back with the PPE and all that kind of stuff. Last Friday, we had 2 meetings with our grounds company. The first one was a walkthrough Thor and I did here of this property. Talk about some irrigation issues, particularly on the south side of the property. And then we had our monthly Zoom check-in with the big boss from the grounds company after that. And then Monday on the 26th, I had a facilities meeting at the high school with the VP and his staff to talk about stuff they needed from the summer and this upcoming fall. Update on solar project, our meeting schedule has changed. We now meet every week on Thursdays. So the next meeting, we've met every Thursday since the last board meeting, and we're meeting again tomorrow. I know we have some big topics to talk about tomorrow, so. And then staffing. Our custodian for the high school has started, evening custodian. Our courier will start next week. So we have a lead position to fill at the high school at night, and we have an evening position to fill at Bethany. But we started somewhere at 6 or 7 opens, now we're down to 2, so. And looking to do interviews for those hopefully early next week, depending on how things play out with the rest of this week, so. And that's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments by the board?
Thank you very much, Mr. LeGrand. I do have one question.
Oh, sorry.
I know that the grounds are not, perfect, and the relationship isn't perfect, but are you satisfied with the improvement? Are we on the right trajectory with the service provider?
With the grounds company?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I became frustrated this week again with the invoicing and stuff, so I reached out to them today. But I think there's improvement across the district, and I've already seen some improvement here since we met last Friday. So I think we're heading in the right trajectory. I get a little flustered because I have to deal with all the work orders, the paperwork and stuff, and sometimes they don't get me stuff in a timely fashion, and they want me to approve stuff via text, and I need backup from our end, so I get a little frustrated on that, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you
Any
for
other
dealing
questions?
with that.
And Mr. Harrison could agree or disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to, I can get my computer to cooperate. Moving on to action items. Item A, consider approval of the 2021-2022 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Move to approve 2021-2022 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, who got it by that much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of recommendation to hire employees on the basis of a provisional internship permit. Staff report?
Yes, this is a common practice in all districts, including ours, and we've done this historically. A PIP allows us to hire non-fully credentialed individuals who are allowed to teach, but they're in a credentialing program. So we recommend approval of this.
Questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the recommendation to hire employees on the basis of a provisional internship permit. Arlene Dominguez, multiple subject credential, third grade, Cordes Elementary School.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Daniel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval of revised contract for ProCare therapy for sign language interpretation services for 2 students for the 2021-22 school year. Staff report?
Yeah, this is a revision to a previously approved item. The services needed exceeded the first bid slightly, so we had to bring it back just for formal approval of the board to pay the additional cost.
Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve revised contract for ProCare therapy for sign language interpretation services for 2 students for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval of revised certificated unrepresented job description, speech and language pathologist. Staff report?
Yes, so we we had some openings in the speech SLP position. We reviewed the job description and discovered that in 2009, when it was originally approved, that there were well-intended items in there that actually were limiting the pool of candidates. So we wanted to expand the pool of candidates by adding a more flexible credentialing and background. So this is, we strongly recommend this. It'll increase our ability to expand the pool.
Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve revised certificated unrepresented job description, speech and language pathologist.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval of a contract with a non-public agency for a temporary speech and language pathologist for the 2021-2022 school year. Staff report?
Yes, so there are 2 options. You can hire someone in-house or you can hire an NPA, non-public agency. This is an NPA to fill an opening that we have presently.
Questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve contract with a non-public agency for temporary speech and language pathologist for the 2021-2022 school year. Ed Theory contractor, $131,008.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by, I believe it was trustee Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on ABSB 130 independent study. Staff report?
Yes, so one of the provisions in the mandate that came out last month to allow for a flexibility and independent study requires that this board policy have a public hearing, so we're following that direction. And the board policy that we are bringing forward is brought to us through CSB, our normal provider.
Question?
Move to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on ABSB 130 independent study.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in open public hearing. And I know we need to wait a moment to see if there's any public hearing to be heard.
Item G.
Item H, consider approval to close public hearing and resume regular session.
Move to close the public hearing and resume regular session.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Daniel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now resuming regular session. Item I, consider approval of adoption of updated board policy and administrative regulation. Staff report.
We recommend approval.
Questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve adoption of updated board policy and administrative regulation 6158 independent study.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, consider approval of a contract with Edgenuity for use with the TK5 grade independent study program in the 2021-22 school year for a total of $136,250. Staff report?
Yes, at the last board meeting, the board approved an item for approximately $77,000. I said we'd be bringing back once we had tighter numbers. And so this is the second purchase of licenses to support the LEO program.
Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve a contract with Edgenuity for use with the TK through 5th grade independent study program in the 2021-2022 school year, total $136,250.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, consider approval to purchase outdoor tables for all LUSD K-8 school sites, not to exceed $125,000. Staff report?
Yes, this is something that came up. It serves two needs. We need additional space for students to eat, and it also, because its tables can be spread out and help assist with serving food to students and distancing.
Questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve purchase of outdoor tables for all LUSD K through 8 school sites not to exceed $125,000.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, consider approval of the 2021-2022 contract with non-public agencies for 5 licensed vocational nurse services not to exceed $292,093. Staff report?
Yes, this is something we do every year. It helps us expand our LVN services, and it falls under the Student Services Department and the leadership and tutelage of Irene Busatel.
Questions or comments by the board? I'll entertain
Move
a
to
motion.
approve the 2021-2022 contracts with non-public agencies for 5 licensed vocational nurse services not to exceed $292,093. ProCare Therapy, contractor $110,747, and the Stepping Stones Group, contractor $181,346.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Boulay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 10, information and discussion items. Item A, Assembly Bill, Senate Bill 130, Independent Study Program, Lammersville Education Online LEO Program. Dr. Nicholas.
Yeah, I'm going to take my mask off because I've got to wear my glasses, and it would take 2 hours with the fogging up issue that I create. So I wanted to give a board an update. There's been a lot of work that's been done, and I want to remind the board and the community that this literally, I believe, was passed 3.5 weeks ago. So there's been a lot of really high-level, very tight timelines of work being done. So first and foremost, the enrollment in the LEO program is at present, possibly, can fluctuate a little bit, but 277 students. We have identified 9 classes, 1 for TKK, a combo, a K class, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7, 8. That's 9 classes. At the high school, Mountain House High School Online Pathway Program, there are 144 students who are enrolled. Nearly all of those are enrolled for different reasons than COVID independent study. The number I was presented today was 18 students are enrolled for that reason. The system that Mr. Faubert and his team set up really outpaced the direction from the state, and they were already in the process of working through all that. So kudos to Ben and his team. That really went very smoothly. Second of all, in terms of staffing, 9 classrooms requires 9 teachers. All of the teachers in the program have a specific teaching credential. That's a multiple subject. There are 2 types of teaching credentials, multiple subject and single subject. In the middle school ages, sometimes there's single subject students, but it's more 7th, 8th, and high school students tied to a particular subject area credential. Multiple subject credentials are teachers who can teach multiple subjects in one school day. So the primary group of teachers here are going to be multiple subject credentialed so that they can teach all the subject or support all the subjects being taught through the Edgenuity program. We currently have 5 LUSD teachers who chose to support the district and the students' needs by being part of LEO, and they were requested to transfer. So we have 5 of the 9 positions from our own folks. We are currently working to backfill those positions at the school sites for in-person. We have 4 additional teaching positions that need to be filled. 2 are in the process, meaning we found someone we wanted. We've asked them to come work for us, and then the wait for fingerprint clearance and all that. There are still 2 open positions, and we continue to search with Verve to fill all of our open positions, but that's where we're at right now. We also added 2 food service positions, and we are in the process of filling that will specifically help the needs of the independent study students in LEO. Let's see. Already, a LEO parent orientation has occurred. That occurred on July 29th. All LEO parents were invited. It was videotaped, and videos have been made available to parents of the LEO program. Tomorrow, August 5th, there's a parent meeting for specifically grades 6 through 8. And I spoke with the principal today, and they are actively being engaged by LEO parents on a daily basis and contacted multiple times a day with questions. So we've gotten to the right place where we want, where parents are calling the school to have their questions answered. So kudos to the school team and the parents for working together on that. In terms of training, there will be 3 days of ingenuity training for teachers. We have identified the workstation areas for all of the staff who will be housed at Lammersville Elementary. The rooms have been identified. Furniture have been moved out and are in, and all the stuff that was in the previous location moved out, and everything's being set up to make it a comfortable place to be. IT connections have been checked, phone and internet access being checked, phones have been added. In terms of students who are special ed, meetings have been scheduled or held through the IEP process to make sure that has been done properly or at least in the process of being done properly. And then starting tomorrow, a communication is going to go out to LEO parents where they're going to be told how to pick up Chromebooks and the plan for that. They're going to be told the food service plan. And they're also going to have the opportunity to sign the master agreement. Remember that independent study requires a parent signature on the agreement. And so they sign the agreement, they get a Chromebook. So it's kind of a quid pro quo, but it also helps us meet the standard for the independent study. In terms of the staff at the high school, and I want to say this to any parent that has any questions or any community member, there is a principal of LEO, Jennifer Duran. There are 2 assistants at Lammersville Elementary who will take calls to provide assistance, either direct information or access to that information. Christy Carl and Rebecca Chubik, and the number is 209-836-7220. The food service plan. LEO food service will be provided daily. Families will be able to pick that up at Lammersville Elementary. There will be a designated time, which is 11:55 to 12:15, and families will be able to place pre-orders. And again, kudos to Bernie Hill and her team. This has been a complicated endeavor for food services for about 2 years now. In terms of LEO and after-school sports access, I want to be really clear about this, is that the reason why we can do LEO legally under the Independent Study Ed Code is that parents have been allowed the provision for medical reasons to choose to not have their students in person and to opt out and have independent study. As a result, any parent that wants their child to participate in an in-person extracurricular will be handled on a case-by-case basis because the parents are choosing not to have their students in person because of a medical concern. So case-by-case basis. In terms of gate access to students, this one doesn't have as good an answer, but there are two parts to this, that we have a long-standing accelerated math program that students in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade can take an accelerated coursework. That is available. That accelerated coursework allows them to start in Math 2 at the high school 1 year ahead. However, in terms of our general GATE program that is run through our in-person curriculum, the work that is to design advanced and enrichment GATE activities that's embedded in that is not part of the Edgenuity program. Remember that independent study has an at-home coach and the student working in Edgenuity. So that's not, there is a sacrifice that will be made for the mainstream in-person GATE opportunity. However, there will be some opportunities, but limited for GATE or advanced and enrichment opportunities for LEO kids per class, per the teacher, but not the systematic way we provided in person. That would be impossible with the model through Edgenuity. Also, for high school students, again, they're only 19, they will have access to AP classes. In terms of students who are struggling, the model in Lammersville Unified for all students is the standard. There's the teacher, and families start with the teacher and the concerns. There are strategic support opportunities with the child and the coach working with the parent. We have something called an SST, or student support team. So a struggling student, if the teacher and the parent coach can't fix the problem, then it moves to the student support team. That's very common practice throughout all school districts. And that's when a team gets together and we have a conversation about what we need to do in additional supports. And then for various reasons, we have something called a re-engagement board. It's not SAR, but it will run like the school attendance review board. It's called the re-engagement board. It's part of our 3-tiered process that Director Busatil presented at the last meeting. But when we get into the third phase, whether it's a issue with follow-through on the parent side or an issue with the student on academic struggles, that would be the place where we really got into, is this the right model for your child? In terms of recalcitrant behavior, student refusing to do work, parent not supporting the need for work, it is possible that through that process, a student in LEO or the high school program could be placed back into the mainstream program. And then finally, at our K-8 school sites, all the information we traditionally send out is going out by Friday. All the stuff, welcome back, schedules, this and that. Here's a reminder of our protocols, all of the things that you would expect us to do. There is a community forum on Wednesday, August 11th, which has already been planned by the high school team, and an invite will also be going out for that opportunity for information on Friday from the high school. And that is the update on LEO and our independent study program inspired by SB AB 130.
Questions or comments by the board?
I do have I'm sorry, by all means, go ahead, Trustee.
I just wanted to thank the superintendent for being so detailed. I did have a call with the superintendent with the questions that I had, and thank you so much for addressing every question that I had. Mostly the questions were geared towards the after-school activities, the GATE. Thank you for addressing all those, and also the SST, letting us know about the SST. That's great. I just want to again reiterate, so August 5th is the date when we will have the communication about the food services sent out. Am I correct, Dr. Nicholas?
Yes, so the you're asking about the food service. By Friday, there'll be a communication to the Leo families that includes the food service plan. And I can tell the board that the food service plan is daily pickup at Lammersville from 11:55 to 12:15, and pre-orders will be allowed.
Awesome.
Did I answer your question?
Yep, absolutely. It was just to confirm. So thank you so much, Dr. Nicholas, for taking care of all those questions. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. President, I made a mistake, a slight one, but it'll make everybody feel good if you indulge me to be able to show a couple pictures.
Certainly.
Sorry, Noah.
And I will get back to Trustee Clement's
Oh, sorry.
question.
No, not at all.
Maybe the pictures
Even though it
will
was
answer
right here
his
in front of me,
question.
I looked all around everything and missed this. There's some nice pictures from some stuff going on that the stuff that we like to talk about, which is this is a picture. We got this from Scoop Olson, our designee photographer at this morning's freshman orientation. An amazing group of youngsters. Ben, what's the number of freshmen? 578. So that's exciting. Next slide, please. Our new new hire academy, which is for new teachers to the district. Two really exciting things. One is I love this. Mr. Harrison and I went by today and say hello to the new teachers. But we actually got to break in the Professional Development Center, which opened to the great pomp and circumstance of 6 people and a ribbon. And so we had, I don't know, probably 35, 40 people in there. But one of the cool parts about it is it has 4 retractable walls. So we can turn a room for 160 people into 2 rooms of 80 or 4 rooms of 40. And when they brought down the walls, we were reminded that in the walls are whiteboards. So go to the next picture. This is the group. This is with all the retractable walls up, interacting. Some of the other interactions at the training today with our coordinators and curriculum team. I think that's it, right? So we're very excited. This is what I think makes our place special. When I was talking to them, the new hires, and I said, one of the things that is important that you know is we're here to help. And if you need help, we have your site admin, your peers, coordinators, district staff. And they were very, it was like, yeah, that's what we've heard. And they were seeing it and living it. And they were also very proud to be part of a district that provides facilities such as this. Mr. President, I'll throw you back the ball.
Trustee Clement, you had a question for the superintendent.
So on the after-school / extracurricular activities, I understood what your comment on that, the reason that they took Leo was for medical reasons, right? And so we're going to decide the eligibility for those activities on a case-by-case basis.
Correct. So there's sports guidelines coming, which is, it's unclear when it's coming, but we think by the end of next week. So that's one factor. But we want our kids to, the other thing I didn't say is if it's an online program, absolutely full access to that. It is unclear why a choice would be made to not have your students in person and then want them to engage in person, like say on a basketball team or a volleyball team or some kind of thing. So if the idea is that we have to follow the general independent study rules, but that's there should be unique cases where people have something going on that required independent study that would open the door for that, but they're choosing not to be in the participating pool of in-person.
Okay, so, because that's what I was thinking was if you're choosing to do independent study, because you think it's unhealthy for your child to be in the classroom, then that was exactly my question. Then how do you bridge that gap for athletics, right? Like on the basketball court, if you can't be in the classroom. And when you said it was going to be on a case-by-case basis, I was like, okay, so when would you envision approving that if they said, well, medically, I don't want my child in the classroom, but medically, I do want my child on the basketball court. And I couldn't get my mind around an instance where that would get, where that would be approved. So I was just
We've
asking.
long learned that if you draw a hard line, there's always exceptions. So it seems to me that making it case by case makes the most sense because there's always something you didn't think about. But in general, the choice is to not be there. So
Okay, you're saying in general, the answer is going to be no, but we're not going to say no because there might be some circumstance that we haven't foreseen.
Right.
Okay,
And it may change, by the sports guidelines.
got it.
Because I was just thinking, the high school has had their online program for a while, and I believe that students can choose that and be completely online, but also do any extracurricular. Is that
Correct.
still?
But that's not related to the independent study law of SB AB 130.
Okay,
These
so-
are people who are opting out for a specific reason, not an alternative education reason.
Okay.
If you're in the alternative education part, absolutely, it's always been the case.
Okay.
This is people who don't want their kids around other kids and crowds.
So the people that are concerned about COVID.
Correct.
Because I would point out that I'm glad you're doing case by case because there are situations where they might be concerned about their student being inside a building all day for 6 hours or 7 hours, but their child wants to play soccer, and that's a little bit, per the science I'm understanding, being outside and playing a sport is a little different than being indoors. So I'm glad you're doing a case by case is I guess what I'm saying, because I think that, some of the medical reasons are valid, but the extracurricular would still be okay for the student.
And with only 19 students specific to ABSB 130, I don't think that's going to be as stressful. But I'll just leave it at that.
Further questions or comments by the board? Moving on to item B, safety protocols for the 2021-2022 school year.
We have Director Busatil is going to really present the most updated protocols directed to safety, and there are some changes for the more stringent rules from last year, so we will follow the rules as they've been presented to us.
And before Director Busatil gets started, I would just like to remind the board members of the memo that we got. Thank you. Director Busatil, welcome.
Thank you. So good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for having me this evening. And as Dr. Nicholas referenced, just a reminder that this is the information as of right now. As we experienced last year, it's very fluid with the guidance that we receive from various agencies. So this is all the information that we have in this moment. And then also just another reminder that the information that I'm sharing tonight can be found on the Student Services part of our website. So if you go to Student Services and you click on that department, you'll see the COVID tab where you can find our draft of our COVID prevention plan. You'll see information specific for Leo, also our 14-day dashboard. All of those things can be found under that tab as well. So right now for our mask guidance, all students are required to wear a mask indoors unless there's a medical exemption on file. So students that are exempt from wearing a mask, they are asked to wear another non-restrictive substitute for that, such as a face shield with a drape. So there's other options that are not the same cloth mask that might be up close to the student's mouth. All students must wear a mask indoors when students are present, regardless of vaccination status. And then outdoors, masks would not have to be worn by any staff member, but when they're indoors, again, any unvaccinated staff member would have to wear a face covering, a face mask, whether students were present or not, if they are unvaccinated. For any of our students that had a medical note on file for a medical exemption last year, those notes carry over to this school year, so families would not have to go out to the pediatricians again and get an updated note. We still have those notes on file. And then also just a reminder that this mask guidance is per the August 2nd COVID-19 public health guidance for the K-12 schools. And in that guidance, it references a November 1st that they would go back and look at the mask guidance at that time. So we have a situation where maybe students and/or parents or guardians are refusing to wear a mask. So our students must be offered an alternative setting. So that is either our LEO program or the online pathway at Mountain House High School. Students that are underperforming in this alternative placement will be placed back at the school site for in-person learning. So both CSBA and CASBO are working with legislature to basically talk about the circle that we would be going in. If someone's refusing to wear a mask, we have to give them an alternate placement, but then they're not performing well, and it's just a vicious cycle. So right now, we do not have any update other than acknowledgement that there is an opportunity to where we can be in a cycle. Also, there's questions coming in about masks, like, will students have to wear masks for PE? So if they're doing outdoor PE activities, they would not have to wear a mask. If they're doing indoor PE activities in one of our gyms or a class for some reason, yes, they would have to wear a face covering, they'd have to wear a mask. Things about clubs. So any indoor club activity, they would have to wear a mask. Any type of fundraising events that are on our campuses being supervised and students are present, they would have to wear a mask while indoors. And the guidance also goes into saying that any indoor school event, regardless of location, so that would be off-site field trips, students that are under the supervision of school staff have to wear a mask. Even if they're at a public place where the business isn't requiring a face covering, our students would have to wear a mask. So classroom guidance as of now, again, this is going back to the CDPH guidance from August 2nd. So at this time, there are no physical distancing requirements. We're going to continue with the recommendations that they had about opening windows and doors when possible. Mr. LeGrand and his team have already adjusted the scheduling for our air conditioning, heating and air, fresh air dampers, and then our board had approved last year as an extra measure the bipolar ionization units. So that's working well for our school sites in keeping the airflow circulating. The next thing is there are no partitions in the classrooms anymore, those clear partitions that we had in particular for our primary students, and that's not part of the guidance any longer. We will be continuing with our cycle of lots of cleaning and sanitation, but the guidance also talks about the regular thorough cleaning once a day is enough to take care of any severe infection, germs that might be on the surface. But of course, here in Lammersville Unified, we take it a step further, and we're going throughout the school day with sanitation, touch points, Clorox wipes and things like that in the classrooms as well. So we're always going above and beyond what the recommendations are for us. And so there's a question about why is there no more physical distancing? Like, why don't we have the cohorts or anything like that anymore? And so again, from CDPH, they talk about that in-person instruction can occur safely without the minimum physical distancing requirement. So no more 6 feet or 3 feet. As long as we're doing all of the other things that I talked about, the air circulation, the cleaning, wearing masks in the classroom, and anything of that nature. Again, if families or students have any specific questions, we encourage families to reach out to their school sites. If they have questions about specifics within a classroom procedure, their first point of contact would be the classroom teacher. They have questions about specific site procedures, that would be their school site principal. And then if they need additional support after that, of course, here at the district office, we're always available to help families as well. So this is our old guidance from 2021 for quarantine. So as we concluded last school year, vaccinated contacts did not have to quarantine if they were exposed. And that was for staff or students once the vaccine became available for our students. Unvaccinated close contact staff or students had to do the 10-day quarantine, and that's when we had some of those classroom closures. Moving on to the current, as of this moment, guidance. So vaccinated staff that is exposed, again, they do not have to quarantine, monitoring for symptoms, doing that daily self-check, and reporting if they have any symptom from, I just don't feel quite right, I have a headache, and making sure that they're contacting their supervisor and refraining from coming to work. Unvaccinated close contact staff, again, will follow the CDPH guidance in the 10-day quarantine, and there is no option for the modified quarantine per the OSHA guidance that our staff follows. For our unvaccinated students, when both students are wearing a mask, they would be eligible for a modified 10-day quarantine if they remain asymptomatic, if they continue to appropriately mask, and in that case, if they've been exposed, they do recommend masking outdoors as well. It's not a requirement, but it is a recommendation. Twice weekly testing during the 10-day quarantine. There's not a set, like it has to be this day and this day, but they're talking about typically day 3 and after day 5. And they may not participate in extracurricular activities in school or the community setting. So with a modified quarantine, the students would still be allowed to come to school and receive education in person, but they would not be allowed to participate in any sports, any science Olympiad, or any of our academic teams like that, in addition to no community events either. So that would be if they had anything at church that they were going to, a youth group, if they were volunteering in the community, those things would also be something that they should not do when they are in the modified quarantine. So the question might be, why are people that were exposed, students in particular, eligible for a modified quarantine? And the CDPH says in their frequently asked questions document that when both parties are wearing a face mask appropriately at the time of exposure, that school transmission is unlikely. And so that's where their guidance stems from. Testing. So right now, we're in the process of getting onboarded for the free testing. So there's no cost testing now in California based off of a federal grant that California received. There's different types. There's the PCR, antigen. There's an at-home pilot test. Right now, they're not really doing that with a lot of school districts right now. They're just seeing how valid it is, if it's reliable, dependable. There's a pooled PCR test, and they recommended this more so for like our sports teams. So if you guys recall, last year, at the end of the year, we were testing our basketball players, our volleyball players, anyone that was playing those high contact or indoor sports. And so that's where a sample of up to 25 people samples would be collected and given as one test sample. And then if that pool pops up positive, then they would go ahead and follow up with an antigen test to identify who was a positive individual. And again, it's meant to decrease the amount of time spent testing, but also to make sure that we have a good gauge of if we have any cases of COVID on our sports teams or in our classrooms. And the last one is the rapid molecular or Q test. And now I'm mentioning it just for information, but this one is also one that's not available right now because they are having a hard time getting those test materials in. So if we were interested in this one, we would have to be put on a waiting list for that type of test. So right now, if we are doing the testing, we're already on the list. We've already expressed our interest in the types of testing that we think would work best for us. The nice thing is you can say, I would like to do PCR testing and antigen testing, or I would like to do pool testing and antigen testing. So it's not like a one size fits all. There's a flexibility from everything that they've shared with us so far. The other thing that we'd do is we would be under CDPH's CLIA waiver, which makes our school a lab. That would enable our nursing staff to be able to collect samples from staff and or students. And so we're a lab and we would be underneath that waiver. For the PCR type testing, there's like over 300 places where there's drop boxes where we would go and take our test samples to be sent out for testing. The closest one to us is Tracy, and then after that, it's Stockton and Livermore. So right now we are working on a formal staff recommendation after we get the final thumbs up, like this is what we've been approved to do. There's lots of conversation going on of do we require staff to be unvaccinated staff to be tested? And so right now we're still waiting for clear guidance on that. And so we'll continue to monitor our numbers and to receive guidance from CDPH and then make sure that we're offering our board the best advice and information moving forward to see if that's something that we would like to do or not. And then the last thing is, it's not fantastic news, but we keep asking at the Friday liaison meetings if there's any information on sports guidance. And so as of the last meeting that I went to this past Friday, there was still no sports guidance. Everyone is asking. And so I have another meeting this Friday, so I'll keep my fingers crossed that we have some updated sports guidance at that time. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Director Busuttil, for the presentation. I have a few questions, but I'm going to split them into mask-related and just information-based. And I apologize if those were information you already presented, but if you could just, repeat it for our community, that would be great. So let me start with a set of questions which are not mask-related. So the first one is, how are we planning on structuring the seating for lunch for in-person?
So that will kind of depend case by case for each school site. So I would say if a family has specific questions, I would reach out to that principal. As mentioned today, there's additional outdoor seating being ordered, but each one of our school sites was very creative. It won't be back to the traditional where the tables were pushed together and we had, 8, 10 kids facing one another in close proximity. So we are implementing spacing guidance because at that point in time, kids to eat, they have to take off their masks, and our site administrators are very, very mindful of that. So that will vary from site to site.
Thank you. So with that being said, my follow-up question would be, will we be sending out a communication from each site to the parents with regards to the seating or how it's going to be, the lunch seating?
Yes, so each one of the sites will be sending out information by Friday with their site-specific safety protocols. And I would say if a parent has additional questions or a parent or guardian has additional questions after that, I would encourage them to reach out and ask for some additional information, clarifying questions.
Awesome. Thank you. So my next question, again, this is not mask related, I'm hoping. So can you please share the classroom sanitization process, please?
So I laugh about it, but I mean, of course, it starts with the hand hygiene and just kids having access to hand sanitizer, reminders to wash their hands. That's the first thing, especially with our littles. And then the next thing is all of our classrooms have the hand sanitizer wipe and the Virex spray that teachers can use, staff can use throughout the day. In addition to that, we also have these big tubs of like these sanitizing wipes. They're big. And so if students are come in and they want the comfort of I'm wiping down my own desk surfaces, then that's something that they're able to do as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. The next one is, are we going to be doing any temperature checks at the front of the school?
So that is not currently a recommendation from CDPH. It wasn't a recommendation either last year. So we will not be doing temperature checks unless we receive different updated guidance.
Okay, got it. Thank you. The next one is, so let's say, what happens if a student falls sick in class? What's the process behind it? Can you just briefly let us know?
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and do what we did last year. So any student that was showing symptoms, and the COVID-related symptoms are similar to many other symptoms, and we did err on the side of caution. And so that student was we isolated the student in the nurses station where they are supervised. Our nursing team has like a little checklist of are they experiencing this type of symptom, and then they would go ahead and refer to the parent and recommend testing for that student if they're having multiple COVID-related symptoms.
Got it. So let's say we are following up with the student and we happen to find, unfortunately the kid is test positive. Would we be contacting the peers who were with the student? Would that process happen?
So it would be similar to like the letters that we sent out last year, so where there would be a notification. The big change from last year to this year is that it wouldn't result in a classroom closure. It would be like an exposure notice, and we would make sure we're providing information of what does that mean and what does a modified quarantine look like for our families. Like you can still come to school, you need to wear a mask, you may not participate in extracurricular activities, whether they're at school or in the community. So we would make sure that parents received that information as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so those were my not mask-related questions. Now I'll just come to my mask-related questions. Again, you may have already mentioned it, but I just want to reiterate to the community again. So for PE and let's say for weight training, masks on or off? Can you just let us know one more time?
So for any PE activities that are outdoors, the student would not need to wear a mask. Any PE or physical activities indoors, whether it's basketball, volleyball, weight training, anything that is indoors, the student would need to wear a mask.
Thank you. And that would also include whatever you mentioned, the rules. The process would also include fundraisers like movie night. Am I correct?
Yes, the guidance says that any type of school-sponsored activity, when students are present being supervised by staff, that we would need to have masks being worn indoors.
How about our rallies and assemblies? I know they have been indoors so far. How are we planning to conduct them? Are we planning to conduct them indoors, or have we thought about?
You know, I believe our high school has done a combination of both, as has our elementary schools. So if there are big like assemblies or rallies that are outdoors, we wouldn't have the same mask, students having to wear masks. But anything that is indoors, whether it's at the elementary schools or at our high school, they would need to wear masks.
Great, thank you. Lastly, will we be able to provide face masks for students who, come by without a mask?
Yes, we have an abundance of face masks that we would be happy to provide, all different sizes.
Great, awesome.
Pallets
So-
and pallets, I understand.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's all I have, and thank you for patiently answering, all those you
I
already.
have a few questions. One's a clarifying question, and I just first though want to say, in your report, when you said that we go above and beyond in cleaning, I love that about our LUSD people, and so I just wanted to thank you very much for always going above and beyond. It means a lot to the community, and these could be both clarifying questions, and I apologize if they are. I think only one is, but when you were talking about a student who is exposed but asymptomatic, and they can still attend school if they, as long as they're asymptomatic and they are getting tested, did I understand correctly that the school nurses will be performing those tests on the students? Or,
Yes, you did. So as soon as we are officially onboarded, we would be able to do that at the school site. Right now, we're still in the queue waiting to get all the testing materials and all
Okay.
of those types of things. So if it was to happen next week or so, we wouldn't be able to do that. But as soon as we get the green light and we have received all of those testing materials, we would be able to do that. There's some training that has to happen for our LVNs, but I would say we're already ahead of the game, because last year when we were doing all the sports testing, the company was having a hard time with the numbers of students. So our team was already helping. So they already know how to administer the tests and things like that.
okay. And I'm assuming there would be a parental consent that would go along
Correct.
with that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned this, the CDPH is coming out with sports guidance. I was just curious, are they going to come out with any guidance with regard to music or marching band? Because I am longing to hear our marching band
Right.
play, and I'd love to get some guidance on that.
We have asked that question at the past 2 Fridays, and I will bring it up again as well, because
Okay.
I would like to see guidance on that.
On the
as well, 'cause
music
It's a big
and-
program for us.
And then and drama, I guess, could function as normal, like a club just wearing masks. So if they do a play,
Correct.
it could be on stage, but they'll have to be masked.
Correct, yes.
Okay. New costume challenge for the designers. Thank you very much.
I have one quick question. In terms of the sports guidance, since we don't have it yet from the Department of Public Health, the high school, I know this week has started tryouts for some of the fall sports programs. Are we using the guidance from the spring, or are the coaches just doing common sense guidelines? Do you have a sense of what we're doing?
So in the summer, when we had transitioned to do like the sports conditioning, the guidance was fairly, we didn't have to do the same testing cadence. So if they were outdoors, they weren't having to wear masks. If they were indoors, they were having to wear masks. So it's similar to that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one clarifying question, and I know the answer, but I want to hear it anyhow. When you talked about modified quarantine, that's only for students who've been exposed, not for students who have tested positive, correct?
Correct.
Once they test positive, they're gone, they're
Correct.
going home and
They're in
staying there until-
isolation.
Yes.
Yes. And they would receive the isolation letter and the isolation orders. Correct.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, CSBA Online Learning Center, staff report?
Yes, one of the things we pride ourselves here in the district is professional development, and that goes all the way through to our board of trustees. So we have invested $1,500 in purchasing access to the online learning center for the indulgence of the board. So anything you're curious about, whatever's there is there for you, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
I do have a question if, because I did already look at the list of opportunities. If we do want to do some of the training, is there like a special code? Do we go through Noel to log in, or do you know how that happens?
So, Noel is the master of passwords and logging in, as you all know, but please continue to follow that. If you ask me, it's a train wreck. In terms of, I'm not familiar with what you get to on the inside. I'm assuming it's a interactive thing. Are you saying that there's also an opportunity for paid for trainings or just access to get in?
No, just access. Okay, all right, I'll check.
I'll send out directions tomorrow if you need to reset your password with CSBA.
Okay, thank you.
If we already have a password with CSBA, it works. All right, thank you. Moving on to, no further questions or comments by the board, right?
Right.
Moving on to item 11, calendar. Thursday, August 12th, 2021, first instructional day of the 2021-2022 school year. Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, next regular board meeting at 7 o'clock here in the boardroom. Thursday, August 26th, 2021, District English Language Advisory Committee, DLAC, at 6:30, and it will be virtual. Wednesday, September 15th, 2021, Safety Committee at 3:30 here in the district boardroom, and since it doesn't say virtual, I'm assuming that it is an in-person meeting. And Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, Facilities Committee meeting, 6:30 p.m. in the district boardroom. In a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss employee discipline dismissal release complaint, Government Code 54957, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, conference with legal counsel pending litigation and liability claim, Government Code Sections 54956.9A, D, 1 and 2, conference with legal counsel existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9, D1, and conference with legal counsel anticipated litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you all for coming tonight and for all that you do for the district.
Thank you very much, everyone.